Hello.
Ah, is anybody with us, I wonder?
Oh, I should actually open that page, shouldn't I? Yeah. Let's go and see.
I just
Hello,
realised
everyone.
something that I haven't
Let us
done.
know
That's
if you're
okay.
here.
Give
Oh,
us a
my dogs are all
wave if you're
playing.
there. Oh, we've got a few people on already, which is lush. Hey, do you know what? It's good because it's going to be an absolutely super good one. Hi, Carmela. Hi,
Nancy.
Nancy from New Jersey. Fantastico.
Nancy's got a crown next to her.
I know. Why haven't I got a crown? I want a crown. Nancy, how did you get a crown?
Well done,
Not that
Nancy.
we're
Oh, you have a
total
crown, but
children.
awesome.
We're just going to give everybody a minute or two just
Yeah, settle in and
to join
grab your
us.
tea, coffee, beverage of your choice. I've got tea.
It's not for most of us.
Hello,
Gin
Nicole.
and tonic isn't going to be totally appropriate. Hey, Nicole, still on your holly bobs. Making the most of it, my friend.
Hmm. Well, Nancy, it must be a good thing. It must be a good thing, I'm sure. It
Nicole
doesn't
did
say that
send me an
anywhere?
absolutely lovely message last week, just asking about Dashi.
Hello,
Yeah,
Lisa. Oh, that's so nice. Yeah.
yeah, really, really lovely.
And Lisa's here
Um,
too. Hi, Lisa. Lisa
Lisa,
also has a crown.
brilliant. Nice to see you. Well, not
Our
see,
crowned
obviously, but to
heroes.
know that you're here. Right, I'm just catching up. All my lovely numbers.
Chaos behind me. Oh, you don't. You're in for a treat. Don't get it proper. It's
Oh,
so
I'm being an
sweet.
idiot. I'm being an idiot, people.
You don't want to go? You can go.
There we
It's
are.
just
It's
funny.
here.
So what's going on, Julia? You are all pensive.
I am all pensive. I don't. What I'm trying to do is just double check all my numbers and everything, which is good. No teaching courses this summer. Lisa, yay! Lisa, Nancy doesn't know why she's got a crown. Darn it! Okie dokie. Right. So, what are we
Oh, it's
talking
just
about today, Barbara?
my ears went this way. Sorry. My ears went this way because there was barking in the kitchen. I think the neighbor came to the fence or something.
No. I was just saying, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, today we have a really good one, don't we?
We do.
Because it's all about reframing what is going on, right?
Yeah.
And um, very often, very often, I think we don't see that. So we have this big challenge with our dogs, right? The big, loud, or in whatever way upsetting behaviors that we want to not have. And I think what we often don't realize is that we want to solve a problem, but the very behavior that we want to address or change or, whatever, they're actually problem-solving strategies on the side of the dog.
Yeah.
So I, I think this is a really nice way to look at it because it puts us both in the same boat. We just,
Exactly.
hmm, we just need to kind of hone our ability to dialogue.
And it is. It's a
Right?
massive. It's a mindset
Yeah,
change, isn't it? And it's
yeah,
having
yeah,
that different mindset. Okay. Should we
yeah.
ask a question?
Yes.
Should we have a confession first? Let's start with a confession. Okay.
Hey.
Could you put a pineapple in the chat if your dog has ever chewed something they definitely weren't supposed to? You could tell us what it was if you like as well. So let's have a pineapple in the chat if your dog has ever chewed something it was not supposed to. I'm going to put some in here for you in a minute.
I got so excited. I wanted to respond that I clicked us away. So back.
There you go. I've popped a pineapple,
You've
partly
got a
because
pineapple.
then people can share, can copy and paste it if
Oh,
they
I
want
see.
to, but also because my dogs have chewed things they weren't supposed to. Do you know what the worst one was? This is terrible. This is something that we definitely had to learn from, was because we've got cats as well. And I just fed the cats and I'd left the empty tin of cat food on the side in the kitchen. I know. And Dash got it. Now, it didn't have any sharp edges when he got it, but he's strong. And he bit holes in a tin can. I
Woohoo.
was mortified. Luckily, he was absolutely fine. Thank goodness. So, yeah, we learned a big lesson from that. Because until that moment, he wasn't um he wasn't a, a, a surfer, a counter surfer. You've put a shoes glasses.
Yes.
God. You've got crowns
Because,
now too. I'm a bit jealous.
because you see my Crocs are supposed to have another thingy.
Oh no. Are we looking at the guilty party?
We are looking at the deed. And then also, now this is the most embarrassing one. Steve, a couple of weeks ago, Stevie got a hold of my glasses. So now, yeah, now I'm shattered.
Just waiting for some comments. Everyone else has perfect. Nicole has, oh, good, Chopin. I was going to say, are we the only ones with with dogs that chew things they're not supposed to? Nicole, Chopin has chewed things. We had an idea actually with Barbara's broken glasses because Friday she comes over to the UK. So the chat next week is going to be so cool because we're going to be actually in the same room.
Yes.
But we thought because I fell over in the shower the other day, so I've got the biggest like this, the bruise, it's huge. So we thought when we go to the conference, Barbara will be there with her broken glasses. I'll wear some shorts, so I'm showing off the massive bruise on my leg. And we could just say, well, we just had to sort a few things out first.
You guys are making me so happy because I'm not the only one with chewed up glasses. So
Oh, thank
Lisa
goodness for
says
that.
she's
Oh,
been
yes.
there.
But
Nicole and Chopin have been there. Well, it was her mum's glasses, but still.
still some. And actually, in a way, that's worse, isn't it? Because if it's yours, you kind of don't feel so bad when it's someone else's. You feel horrible, don't you? You feel so guilty.
Yes. But look, Carmela! Her old dog methodically pulled out the silver strip in a 20-pound
25.
note. Wow! Yes, Lisa, I agree. That is
Seriously
impressive.
impressive.
Wowzers, wowzers. So it
Awesome.
seems like the crowns are being passed around, hey?
Exactly.
The more you comment, that's how you get your crown, it
Yeah, we
seems.
can have competition, see who can get the number one crown. Right, okay, so
Says Chopin to cash and her debit card before she thinks he wants to go by himself and you buy no toys.
I
Yes.
think so. I think so. Yeah, he wanted to go
Okay.
on a little shopping spree.
Oh, that was funny.
Oh, bless him. So,
Okay, yeah.
example of what we would probably call challenging behaviors. So, they're not actually, I know it's hard to think of it like this. They're not actually a problem, they're more a strategy for your dog to deal with a problem that they're having. So, it's our dog telling us they're trying to cope with something or they're trying to communicate with something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
really easy just to label the behavior, isn't it? Saying my dog's naughty, they're stubborn, they're disobedient. So, what we're going to do today is have a little bit more of a deep dive. Oh, Erica, a
Mm,
passport.
mm. And you see, I do think, especially in the context of reactivity, this is so important because depending on how our dog stresses and how our dogs respond when they are afraid. Remember the 4 Fs? We've talked about this before. We don't have to do it now, but depending on how they react, it is sometimes really difficult to see the behavior as what it is or for what it is, right? And then mistakenly think that the dog is vicious or aggressive I mean, it is aggressive behavior when they lunge and bite and growl, yes, but that doesn't, number one, it doesn't make the dog an aggressive dog. And
Absolutely.
B, we tend to get at best a bit defensive about it, right? But nobody likes that. Whereas a dog that is more subdued and stresses by freezing or hiding and avoiding, it's much easier to begin with until we understand what's going on, right? It's much easier to be compassionate with that dog, right?
Exactly.
So it's really important to see that no matter what it is, whether it's the more desirable behavior or the undesirable behavior, or even something that scares us a little bit, because that's not how we perceive our dog, right? Like this gremlin, it's really important to understand that dog is doing whatever it is they're doing it for a reason.
Exactly.
They're
Exactly
trying
that.
to meet a need in the only way that they know how to. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, you're right. It's just all about those needs. So we've put needs into three core categories.
Hmm.
So we've got their mental needs, their physical needs, and their emotional needs. So mental needs are things that our dogs need to do with their brains to keep them happy, to stop them from getting bored. So it could be enrichment, problem solving, novelty, decision making, dog sport people. This is where that would, that's going to come under this as well as other things. So what are some examples of things that we can do for dogs to help with their mental needs?
Are you asking for comments or are you asking
I
me?
was asking you actually, but comments would be nice
My
too. I
number
really ought to have made
one,
that specific.
my number one is positive reinforcement-based training,
Yeah.
right? So easy behaviors, things broken down into super easy steps, clicker training or marker training, really easy layers first. The dog is like super successful, gets lots of reinforcement. I think I've seen it, I've seen it with Falky, how well that works. It's just such a confidence booster, but also it just makes them really tired, right? To have to think,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that we make them tired by giving them big problems and they can't solve them and they're like, it's not that. They get lots of reinforcement. They're super successful, so they love it and they want to do more of it. But it also helps them feel good about themselves, and it gives them an opportunity to, or how should I say, some kind of control, right? I mean, it sounds really weird because lots of people think about training as, the human is imposing control on the dog.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is it's a little brain puzzle. Like, okay, what, just try things and I'll click, for the thing that I like, and then you get paid for that. And of course, if we do this in the right way, set the dog up for success, it's really easy. There's not much, no frustration for them. They're not guessing wildly. And then they get reinforced and they say, oh, I want to do this again, right? And then that really gives them a sense of control. There are things I can do actively to get paid.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's a big deal. And then, of course, each time that happens, there's also a whole lot of stuff that goes on in the brain, you know. So each time they get it right, they get their click, they get that cookie very quickly. It's not so much about the cookie as not that we don't continue to reinforce them, but really it's that dopamine that happens in the brain, all these things that make them really enjoying the whole experience. So to me, it's a biggie.
No, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Now, we've had a couple of comments. So, Sniff Walks from Shawnee. Carmela says play really helps Hobbs. Nicole, tricks and puzzles and snuffle mats and hide and seek and pattern games and all those sorts of stuff. 100%. Guess what I'm doing loads of at the moment? I'm doing loads of ACE free work because I'm currently doing my course. Eventually going to become a tutor. trainer, an ACE trainer,
Yeah.
which will be fabulous. Now, ACE is great. It's all about, there's lots to it, but it's basically using all your dog senses to kind of experience the world. So touch and smell and taste and everything. And what I've been doing an awful lot of this last week is really observing, really observing. I think this is something we might need to do in our mastermind, actually, is do some proper observations with some ACE. I think that would be lovely. So yeah, Nicole, masterminders, you're there. Yeah,
Yes.
be there.
And this really speaks to the physical needs of the dogs as well, right? Because they're
100%.
moving through your ACE-free puzzles, if I may call them that, right? They're moving through.
Yeah.
You make observations because obviously one of the most important needs for our dogs is to be free of pain, right? As much as possible. I mean, if they have conditions, that we help them to be as pain-free as they possibly can, and that they are allowed to move, and that they can move, that they can do all the things, the physical things that they enjoy doing, right? All the sort of natural behaviors like chewing and digging and sniffing, and of course also resting.
Exactly. So yeah, those bits are really important for those physical needs. But then we've also got the emotional needs as well, which are more interesting in my, just because they're more difficult in some ways, because it's about safety, connection, that kind of thing, but also the dog's autonomy, the dog's ability to be able to, or opportunities to be able to choose.
Yeah, but you see, again, I think that positive reinforcement-based training goes a long way there too. I'm not saying that that's all we have to do, far from it,
Absolutely does.
but it kind of ticks all the boxes, right? Because we create connection, we're doing something together. If we set it up properly, then the dog can feel absolutely safe and also have that control over the environment, that autonomy, right? Making choices. And because if your dog is not responding in the way that you were expecting, you've got to change your plan immediately, right? No point shouting sit, sit, sit when our dogs have
No, absolutely
hips
pointless.
and can't sit, right? Or a sore tail, or something. So that goes a long way. And then being able to do the movements, that we talked about with the physical needs, being allowed to do all the things, the instinctive behaviors, the stuff that's kind of, we always use those words, hardwired genetically, into their brains. But
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? These behavior patterns, that they have opportunity to do that. And of course, a really big one when it comes to emotional safety is that they just get enough rest. Right?
Absolutely.
Like that, not, how do you say this positively, protection from things that scare them, protection from anything that creates over arousal or too much excitement or outright scares them or worries them. We don't want that to happen all the time, or only in controlled and limited doses.
Yeah. And as Shawnee said before, things like sniffy walks. And like Nicole said, the hide and seeky games, those kind of things.
Yeah,
Really
there's
cool.
so many things, and a lot of it is so there's training on the one hand, and then there is giving your dog a safe space where they can hang out and rest, in between stuff. And then of course there is, I think, a lot to say for general sort of enrichment, right? A lot of the things that people have been sharing go into that category. And a lot of the ACE-free stations, right, are sort of enrichment, except that, of course, there's more to it, right? In the sense that, what I love about it so much is the observations that it creates.
The observations are amazing. And actually, Shawnee was just put in the comments, she's doing a lot of that. And, all that came into my head is, I wish you could come to one of our ACE sessions in the mastermind. We'll have to have a think about that, because I think it would be, you'd love it. It'd be so good for you to really dive into that. But Barbara and I will have a chat and see what we can think. Although obviously if you want to join the mastermind, perfection.
Yes.
drop us a
It's a
note.
very nice, it's a very, seeing that we're talking about it now, it's a very nice, very intimate, small group of people, friends, right? We meet twice a month and we do a little bit of geeking. We look into topics, sometimes preset, sometimes, you know, suggested. And then we also do sessions with our dogs once a month where we either train a particular skill or do setups like the S setups or something all together on the Zoom.
It's fun.
And for me, it's things like, for example, the S setups, they're not, I love them, I really value them, but they're not something that I'm likely to do on my own.
Yeah.
It's just, but then when, following Julia's lead and with her expert guidance, getting setting it up on in a mastermind session, that's a completely different ball game, right?
Exactly. And it gives you kind of, and same with you, Barbara, because Barbara's been doing lots of clicker training, which I haven't done a huge amount of that. It's great. So we learn from each other. We're also, learning from the other members in the mastermind, and everyone's learning from each other. It's just a fabulous space. So yeah, do drop us a message if you want to.
Yeah, if any of you feel
If that
tickled now
sounds
and
like
want to know
fun to
more
you,
about it,
I tell you what, I'll put
let
the
us know.
email address.
Yeah,
in
pop the email address in. You guys can drop us a note if you're keen, if you would like to do a bit more than, if you're enjoying these weekly lives and you would like to dig a little bit deeper, get a little bit more engaged with us, and bring your dogs along to the Zooms, then you are super welcome. Just drop us a note, tell us what you would like, what you're looking for, and then we can see if it's a good fit. Cool. Right.
Funny
But
thing
let's not
though,
lose sight of
I was just thinking the funny thing is that, with all the stuff that we're talking about, so things like the ACE work, lots of training, it's stuff that we tend to think of when the weather's rubbish or we can't go for a walk. We get so like, we must go for a walk, and that just has to be our number one priority. And yes, they're great, but it's foundational, getting that enrichment in. And when I talk enrichment, I'm not just talking enrichment games, I'm talking the training, I'm talking everything, because it's all enriching your dog's lives, and it's all about their enriching their experience. It's foundational and it's fundamental really to what we're doing. So yeah, I set myself a little challenge to do stuff every day, particularly as the dogs get older, to keep their brains ticking.
Yeah. So the all that enrichment, it is not optional, right? I think
Yeah,
that's
it's huge.
what you're saying. Enrichment and these sort of other things. There's other things to exercise the dogs or exercise their brains. And whether or not you have a problem on your walks, right? That's not even the point. It's just that takes it's part of, for some of us who are really busy, it's a big chunk of the day, right? It's that hour that you're out and about with your dog. And sometimes you might just do something else in that time that is new for your dog or different, meets their needs just as well, but in different ways, and
Exactly.
perhaps with a little less overstimulation.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly.
Okie doke. So shall we go and have a look at Wanda's question?
We could do, couldn't we? Should we
that
just get everyone just to put in the chat, just to have a little think? When your dog is being totally themselves and has free choice, what do they love to do? What's their thing? So we got an email yesterday actually from one of our masterminders whose dog loves to dig. Hattie is a big digging lover. So what is your dog's number one thing? If they just had free choice, what would they do? And the great thing I think about thinking about questions like that is sometimes we think, well, actually, do you know what? I'm not 100% sure. In which case, having those, giving the dog a space where they can have some choice and decide, what do I want to do? It can give us, and we can observe, it gives us loads of information about our dog.
So I can share a couple of things. So
Please.
from Stevie clearly likes to beat up her brother. No, but she really likes to dig. She loves digging.
Yeah.
All three of them like to dig. It's just nice to see, and they have a space in the garden where they're allowed to dig. And then, of course, they sometimes try to dig in the other places. It's really hard for them to see, I'm allowed here, but I'm not allowed there. But having the other space makes it easy for me to redirect, right? So they love to dig. And then now especially is a big, what's the word? De-stuffer.
Yeah.
No, so he loves to get all the everything out of out of a stuffed animal or and so on. And I got this really cool toy for Stevie that's tiny little stuffed animals that are inside. I think it's supposed to be a baobab tree or something like that, but and she can pull them out and then I can put them back in and she can pull them out. So that's great. And then Falky is the only one who does really well with Snuffle Mat and Snuffle Ball. The others will destroy them. They eat the cookies out, and I've got to be totally like Eli.
Really on it.
The minute their cookies are gone, I've got to take the things away. And sometimes they even start before that. They just Stevie and now really like to tear things apart. Whereas Falcon, that is just great. I mean, Snuffle Mat, Snuffle Ball, he's just like keeps snuffling, and never destroys anything. Okay? So he's so it's very different,
So Carmela just put in the chat about Parker's currently rolling in the grass. Hobbs struggles with choice, but he does like destuffing things. Now, Carmela, I know that you're coming to the conference that we're going to be at the weekend. So for you, watch out for Sarah Fisher's talk. She's the ace lady. She's awesome. And it's perfect for dogs that struggle with choice. So that's something that we can maybe take further after that if it resonates with you. That's just a thought that I just had. Yeah, Nicole shredding paper. Licking lip mats. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Stevie destroyed so many lick mats. Julia, when I come, you have to take me to some good stores where I can stock up on
stuff. I'll have to see if we can find some
food puzzles.
We'll have a look. Actually, what we can do is we can ask some people who are there that are locals. They'll be able to tell us where the best places to go are. Or we can just go online. We should be able to get things delivered quite quickly.
All right.
Okie dokie do.
Okay, let's have a look at close the window now, because we had you might have seen this question in the group from Wanda about her little dog, and my heart really went out to Wanda when I saw this late. She posted it a few days ago already. So here's what she wrote. I'm at my wit's end with a dog I adopted from a rescue in January. He's very aggressive towards strangers and has already bitten several people. I have to crate him if someone comes, but if they happen to enter my house without me knowing they are here, like her adult, her grown-up children, he'll attack. He's 20 pounds of absolute terror. I would like to show, and then she wanted to show a video, and actually in the comments there is a little video. And then people, our wonderful community already gave quite a few suggestions, and a lot of it speaking to management, which is great. So then so we have everything, Julia. Wanda did respond that baby gates, etc., are a little bit difficult because of the way the home is laid out. She put warning signs, etc. at the gates outside and the front door and so on. And the only room where he could visualize strangers from is the bedroom, and his crate is in there, and he often goes in there and lays down. That's a safe place. So often when strangers come, I put him in the crate before they enter, which is good. I keep the door open so you can observe them, but if it doesn't calm down, I shut the door. Once he's calm, I will open the door again. Depending on his behavior, I'll take him out on his leash to sniff guests. If he begins to growl, bark, or lunge, I'll put him back in his crate. Sometimes he settles in, but not always. And because he's unpredictable, she keeps him on his leash. Any movement, he goes ballistic. And then they have since closed the deck up with gates and put gates up at the driveway. So the dog has access to part of the yard, and then also Wanda's always with him. But it just can happen, right? That people just enter and then he will bite.
Yeah.
And then Wanda says, while she can control him in the backyard and the deck, I just want to be able to introduce him and get used to my family, when they visit.
This poor
Yeah.
little dog is really struggling, isn't he? Bless him. He's so overwhelmed.
Wanda. Yeah, really, it's a really difficult situation. My heart really went out to her
Really.
when I read the post, because it's so wonderful. First of all, I just want to say that it's just wonderful, Wanda, that you adopted the little dog. It's a little terrier from what I can tell, which is really awesome. And also, I think it's hard now because that's probably not what you had in mind, right? To be in this pickle when you decided to go and adopt a dog. So thank you so much for giving the little guy a loving home.
Absolutely. I'm going to
Yeah.
say free work again would be brilliant. But that's too big a thing to look into at this
Right now.
moment.
Yes.
Really, because how you set it up would be really, really crucial. I mean,
I think,
sorry,
go
Barbara,
ahead.
you carry on.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was just thinking, my first thought went to the crate, and how happy and relaxed he can be in the crate. Because my concern is, I suppose, because if he growls, barks, or lunges, he's going back in his crate. So, what's his perception of the crate? Because you've said that the space is a safe place, which is exactly what he needs. You're absolutely right. But if he starts associating the scary stuff with being put in the crate, does it feel punishing? How much positive work has done in between that on making the crate brilliant and calm and awesome? So I think I'd be looking at that and making sure that that's a nice safe space for him. Just because of your management. That's just the first thing. What were you going to say, Barbara?
Well, yeah, I think you are spot on. However, I think the most important thing that has to happen is no further triggering, right?
Yeah, he needs a break.
So putting him in the crate is a good thing, right? Especially since it sounds as if he likes his crate. And I share Julia's concern. We don't want to spoil that for him and for you. But so what I would suggest is, number one, whenever you know people are coming, to put him in a safe space, whether that's the crate or somewhere else, where he cannot see and ideally not even hear the people, and give him a nice enrichment, a chew bone or something to lick, and just relax and tell him you don't have to be part of this. You can just hang out here, right? And that is where I would start. And that's what I would make the new routine. He doesn't have to meet people. When people come, he can go and feel safe somewhere else so that he can decompress. Because what I'm wondering is that after having been rehomed, comes to this new space, is wonderfully looked after, of course, but it is a big change. So already the dog feels super stressed. We don't know what happened before, so this is all on top of whatever experience the dog already has. And then he may or may not have had a period of, being left alone and just settling in. But sometimes what can happen is that we think, oh, it should be enough now because it was so many days or so many weeks. But ultimately, it's the dog that needs to tell us this, right? And it's
Yeah.
different for every dog. And then also with rescue, sometimes they are very different initially, and we only get to see more later on, right?
Yes,
So I
that's
think
so
it's
the
really
case.
important for this little guy to just, in order to make him feel safe, is that he doesn't actually see any strange people or even people that he's seen before that he still feels upset about for the time being. And I know that that can be a little bit challenging because, if people can just walk in, but if at the very least you can maybe have a sign or make some arrangement that people text or call you before they come in or change the ringtone on the doorbell or just something that even in the worst case scenario you get warning and then he can go into a safe space with a chew. I think that would be the first thing to do and that will go a long way starting there.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that's a great starting point. But I think, this is quite a challenging, and I understand how challenging it feels for you at the moment, and I totally get it. Um, and I think the other thing is, because we're going to be sitting here saying to you that less is more, and he needs to have that break. He needs to be, separated from the visitors. But I understand that the ultimate goal is to get him to accept the family. So just because we're not doing that now, that doesn't mean that we won't do it, but we have to do work at his pace
Mm.
because otherwise the risk is you're going to get more of this fearful behavior, which could then lead to biting and all sorts of stuff. So we've
Yeah.
got to follow his pace and do those introductions carefully. I would,
But
if
not yet,
not
not
yet,
yet,
not yet, no.
because and also not never to the point where he then growls or shows discomfort. And that is why I also wouldn't put him in the crate and leave the door open so he can see. Because sometimes, from what you share, sometimes he's able to do this and other times he's not able to do it. So there is always a risk that we overexpose him. So for now, for a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, I would just really routinely put him away to a safe spot. It always sounds so horrid, put the dog away, right? But it actually is about making him feel safe because he can only start to build confidence and be braver and engage even from a distance with people in the home when he feels good, right? Because there's all this strict constant, it's not, I know it's not constant, but the repeated triggering just keeps stacking and makes the dog more stressful. And then he gets quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker into these behavior patterns that you don't want because it becomes his go-to thing.
Exactly. And it
Mm.
just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, doesn't it?
Mm. And I think somebody put that comment in, absolutely, I forget now who it was, spot on that when there is bite risk, don't know how severe the biting has been. I mean, we could have a conversation with you, Anna, if you want help, because this is what I'm recommending.
Yeah,
You definitely
totally.
want somebody to talk to that can give you um, really a focused plan and focused help. So with things like this, if to go have a behavior consultant or veterinary behaviorist helping you, depending what it is that you need specifically. So we'd be happy to help you if you want to. So I think we'll put a comment on her post, hey, to reach out. What do you think? Is
Yeah,
that
good idea. Let's do
right?
that.
But the most important thing, is to set you and him up for success, is to start from point of safety. And that means not trying to introduce him to anybody at this moment, whether on leash or from a distance, but just let it be. So we see
Exactly.
this so often, right? That also trainers, not just, owners of the dogs, but also trainers tend to be so focused on training through these situations that they end up exposing dogs when they're not yet ready.
Exactly.
And that can actually make things worse. Because with each episode, things get worse.
It really does.
So, but that doesn't mean that that it can't be sorted. It's just might not be super quick, might not be one thing that changes everything. What it takes is going through all the layers of shapes, and that starts with safety.
It really does. It's so important to have that as your starting point. Brilliant.
Okay.
Does anybody that is here have any questions?
Oh, that's a good point, LG. Hello, LG.
Lovely
She
to
said,
see you.
yeah, she says practice makes permanence for good or unwanted behaviors. So
It's
true.
true.
And Nancy says, excellent advice for this little dog. This technique worked magically for our first adopted male Australian cattle dog. He eventually chose to go to his crate in the bedroom when anyone visited us.
Great. Perfect.
Well done. And Sean is full of compassion. It is so stressful as a dog owner to be in that situation. My heart goes out to you. I've been there. Thank you so much for saying that. Yeah.
I've been there myself, so I do know what it's like.
Yeah.
And it's something, I mean, it's going to be really interesting actually at the weekend, on Friday when we get together. Because my dog Hattie, she used to be very much like that. She does still sometimes struggle with people she doesn't know, particularly since she's had arthritis because she's in some pain. So it'd be a really nice one. We might be able to share a little bit about how Barbara and Hattie were introduced to each other and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now she's nowhere near this stage anymore. We did the no rehearsal, keep her away, all that kind of stuff for a long time to get started.
And you see, we didn't even go with, for you, Wanda, we didn't even go to that place of, is there any pain potentially? Is there something that, I mean, this is not, it doesn't
I
seem
would
to be
say
that,
that
it's not
almost
direct.
certainly is, yeah.
Yeah. How should I put it? It just, if there's underlying pain, it makes you grudgety. When I have pain, I'm not nice to be around, right? If I'm stressed, I'm not nice to be around.
I'm not saying a word, Barbara.
You're not going to make me stressed. So, yeah, so, there are a lot of different things to look at before we even go to practicing with people.
Yeah.
And also what we haven't even mentioned is the reactivity reset. So we'll drop a link to that for Wanda, either here or also on her comment, because that would be a good way to
Or
start.
both, yeah. I'm just going to put that in now. If there's anybody watching live or on catch up and you haven't downloaded this, please do. It's ace.
What are you talking about?
Even though I do say so myself.
What's up? Do you need to go outside? Maybe, huh? Maybe you need to go and pee. It will be done soon. And he does these single barks like wolf.
Yeah, it's just when he's telling you something, isn't it? He's just proper little communication. I need something, Mum, which fits in perfectly to what we've been saying. So yeah, there's our reset in there. Great.
Well, thanks everyone. Unless there are more questions, I think.
I can't see any. Make sure that you're with us this time next week when we will be together and we'll have just been to the conference. We're going to share some of the gems that we picked up with you. So that's like from the best in the business. So that's going to be fantastic.
Best thing with stuff we want to share you, I'm sure.
Yeah. So and invite other people, to the group so that they can enjoy it as well. It should be super cool.
Yep.
Brilliant. We'll see you then.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. You
Have a
guys
good
are
week.
awesome. Yeah, super awesome.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.